Hey YouTubers, it's Charlie. So a whole bunch of Justice League stuff happening, talking about the Zack Snyder sort of pre-sequence that he puts in front of each of his movies, Darkseid, War, and we found out who's going to be playing Steppenwolf. So I'll start with the Steppenwolf stuff first. That's pretty huge. So the big news is that Ciarán Hinds is going to be Steppenwolf, the main villain of Justice League. Now, he's only one of many of Darkseid's elite, so I think they're doing the smart thing in not going straight to Darkseid. Just because they've announced Steppenwolf as the villain doesn't mean we won't see the rest of the forces of Apokolips. So for those of you that are asking about the Furies, Granny Goodness, Kalibak, some of the other really cool Darkseid villains, they could show up too, but they haven't announced anything. And I think, they looking at some of the other big comic book movies this year, they're going to try and keep it from getting too bloated with characters they don't have time to develop. So we might just see a lot of Steppenwolf and then Easter eggs for some of the other forces of Apokolips and the New Gods too. You really can't do Apokolips without also teasing some New Gods stuff, so the mother boxes are just opening a path for that. But let's talk about Ciarán Hinds. So I'll say, you look at him, you don't necessarily think of someone that looks like comic book Steppenwolf, like he's a much younger person. He looks, like a bodybuilder in a suit of armor that wields some really badass weapons. So obviously he's going to look a little bit different from his comic book persona. He probably won't have like a fully covered face. You probably see his face, and he'll probably still be wearing some form of armor. So I'm totally cool with, whatever changes they make to that. One of the big things that comic book movies have taught us in general, especially the really big ones, is that it's easy to do the special effects stuff. So if you need to make someone look crazier, give them special armor that moves around or does really cool stuff, that's easy to do in post-production. What you can't do is fake a really good acting performance. And Ciarán Hinds is amazing, so I give him, A+ on the casting side of things. I know everybody wonders who's going to be Darkseid. Right now he's just kind of this ethereal darkness on the edge of the horizon. Like, you see him off in the distance, you know he's coming, but you can't quite make his form out yet. So wisely, the movie will probably try to avoid going too deep into him. It'll just focus on Steppenwolf trying to beat the shit out of the Justice League. So even though we haven't got a lot of the DC movies yet to actually create the context for Darkseid, we know a little bit about, they kind of explained it when they started teasing Justice League this past year. So in the grand history of the world, the Amazons, along with the Atlanteans and another mysterious force, fought off Darkseid, but 3 mother boxes were left behind. The Amazons got one, the Atlanteans got one, and then sort of like a mysterious, warrior ancient one got one as well. So hopefully the Wonder Woman movie will tease some of that, but obviously Justice League is where they're going to be focusing on it. So because Zack Snyder directed Justice League, I think we can all expect that kind of short movie in front of the actual movie. They did it in front of Batman. He does it in front of all of his movies, really. Like Watchmen had that big sequence with the Minutemen before the movie started. So there'll be that same type of thing, probably explaining the history of Darkseid at the beginning of Justice League. Even if you're not super happy with Zack Snyder's storytelling ability, I feel like he makes really badass short movies like that. They should actually think about releasing those separately from the actual movies themselves. Just expand them by a couple minutes, make a 15-minute short film, and just air it separately from whatever actual movie it's a prequel to. So let me know, here's my big question for you guys. What do you think about Ciarán Hinds being the big villain of Justice League, being Steppenwolf, even if you don't know who he is from the comics? This is basically what he looks like, so you kind of have to use your imagination to see what he would look like with crazy armor on. And what do you want that prequel short movie at the beginning of Justice League to be? I feel like there are just so many crazy concepts that they're going to get into with the New Gods and Darkseid that it has to be a Darkseid sequence, even if we don't actually see Darkseid in it. Batman had the voiceover during the Batman v Superman, pre-sequence that did the Batman origin story, but I kind of want them to go totally silent. Silent 5 to 10 minute film at the beginning of Justice League that's just the history of Darkseid, no voiceover. But I think the big reason they probably wouldn't do that, they'd have to include voiceover, or the studio would pressure them to include voiceover, is because so many people have absolutely no idea what's going on with Darkseid and the New Gods. They'd be like, what am I looking at? What's this box? Who's this person over here? So if you are looking for a really cool comic to read and you haven't read Darkseid War, read Darkseid War because it's a recent Geoff Johns story from the last year, one of the last comics that he wrote before he got elevated to like the head of DC Films. And if you want a really big deep cut, go back and read the original Jack Kirby New Gods Fourth World story. It's super trippy. It'll remind you a lot of Steve Ditko's Doctor Strange 70s weirdness, like very weird psychedelic things going on. So get hyped, it's going to be fun. I'm really excited about Justice League. I do think that they listened to a lot of the feedback after Batman v Superman, so I think a lot of people's disappointment will be addressed. And I think, 2017 as a whole will be a lot more satisfying in terms of movie-going experience. I feel like the studios, Marvel, DC, Fox all kind of learned their lesson, not to just like rush films out. So just a quick reminder that there is a rumor that we're going to get a Justice League trailer around Christmas time. So that'll give us a better idea for the look of the film. Like imagine that first Wonder Woman trailer. Like it wasn't a story-based trailer. It was just like, hey, look at all this cool stuff that's happening in the movie. It'll probably be a trailer like that. Usually they wait till the second or third trailer to explain the story of the movie a little bit more. But what's going to happen next is there is a Marvel infamous Iron Man video that I want to do. Then I'll post my Doctor Strange Easter eggs. So hopefully I won't have to skip Legends of Tomorrow this week, but I'll try to get all that stuff out. I'll be posting updates on Twitter and Facebook on the video schedule, but infamous Iron Man will be next. So Doctor Doom is now the Iron Man of the Marvel Universe. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm really excited about that title. There was like a really nasty rumor about the Batman movie that just dropped. If you want me to do a video about it, let me know in the comments. But while you guys wait for everything to post, you can click here for my Doctor Strange review, and you can click here for my Wonder Woman trailer video. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Let's high five. I'll see you guys tonight.